The life of Candace Owens, it works like this. I wake up, I stretch, I have a cup of coffee, and then I am served with a lawsuit. I think that's the morning routine, my friends. That is clearly my morning routine. It is so effortless. And today I have been sued by the first lady man of France. So let's just go, guys. Let's just go. You are officially a very goofy man, Brigitte. But I got to give it to you. You've definitely got balls. A few weeks ago, Brigitte finally lost her defamation claim against two journalists, which was taking place for years, by the way, over in France. In France, politicians can bully journalists, but this is not France, it's America. These are not outlandish allegations. These are not allegations coming from the quote-unquote far right or the quote-unquote far left. This is the reality. It is a couple in reality that has been involved in way too many pedophilic scandals, okay? Scandals that are related in some way or another to pedophiles. People that they've worked with, people that they were friends with, artists that they've hired. Things just didn't look right. And they tried to present them as some modern couple, telling us that she was so hot, she was Claudia Schiffer, and even though he was 14, she was just irresistible. It's perverted. No matter what, this is an incredibly perverted story, which centers around individuals who happen to surround themselves with other perverts. That's the reality. You cannot look away from that. Questions for a fair and balanced interview. We offer the following questions in advance, okay? We then list all of our questions, very simple questions. Did Brigitte Macron ever use the name Veronique? As an example, number 5, can you identify each child in the Amiens family photograph? Did Brigitte Macron physically give birth to 3 children? I don't know. If I'm trying to avoid being defamed, I would very happily reply, yes, Candace Owens, I physically gave birth to 4 children. You could have easily provided evidence or answered simple yes or no questions, which we would have said was an actual statement coming from you, but you've refused to do that in this context, just like you refused to do it overseas. It's why they overturned the defamation claim that you were holding on to, hoping that this would somehow prove that you weren't born a man, something that is so easy to debunk. Hi, where are the first 30 years of your life? Mimi Marchand? Yeah, your PR thug. Let's just check out Mimi's Wikipedia page. Since this is like coming up from Candace, I think Mimi's been in some trouble. We can scroll down here. I think it's under her, here it is, controversies. In addition to her criminal past, Marchand was accused or suspected of forging documents in several cases, including a false marriage certificate to Vincent Linden and Caroline of Monaco, and a fabricated interview. Like, that might be relevant, that this was the person that everyone had to go through to learn anything about your past. That what limited photos you provided, what were there, a total of 4 from before the time that you were 30 when you were married, all went through Mimi Marchand, who has been in trouble for producing false documents. That might be relevant. It might be relevant also. We mentioned Claude Levesque. Yeah, did you not handpick him as the artist? Did you not use his carpet? And then he later got charged with rape and sexual assault of minors. You were very involved in styling the office of your husband. Did I lie when I mentioned Olivier Duhamel, the person who played a significant role in Macron's campaign? Did I lie when I said that you guys worked with him on the campaign, and then he admitted to molesting his stepson when his stepdaughter came out and said that they would have these weird parties and people got molested? Where did I lie? You can't just put things in quotation marks and pretend like I was not justified in presenting the facts of the cast of characters that surround you, the many. And that's just naming a few on this episode. Go back and watch the series. You can't hide this stuff. They had only 2 photos embedded as proof that Brigitte Macron ever lived as a woman for the first 30 years of her life. First photo, well, that's weird, because Brigitte looks to me like the person on the far left. That is Brigitte's whole face. I mean, you looking at this? Photo 2, you accidentally present a photo of your daughter and recolorize it into black and white. The press doesn't even pretend that that is Brigitte anymore, by the way. They're like, oh, that was just a mistake. Oh, yeah, that's Stefan. This was a story that was worked on for 3 years by journalists, which was eventually published in a 6-part series in a publication known as Fait et Documents. Xavier Poussard worked on the story, Natasha Ray worked on the story, and they crossed hands with genealogists who worked on this story. This was 3 years of hard work. And what they determined was that Brigitte Macron did not exist for the first 30 years of her life. Listen to what I'm saying to you. There is no proof that this human being existed for 30 years. It's a very easy thing to debunk, guys. Okay? Very easy thing to debunk. If somebody came at me and said, Candace Owens, you did not exist for the first 30 years, I'd be like, what are you crazy? Here's my high school yearbook. Here's my middle school yearbook. Here's me and the homies standing outside with too thin eyebrows because that was the style when I was in high school. Here's me, a picture of me cheerleading. Here's me when I played the flute for 6 months. Here's me and my sisters. It's such a nonsense that I would instead send out people to call it crazy without giving them 30 years worth of proof to debunk it. Their theory is that Brigitte Macron was actually born Jean-Michel Trogneau. That is the person that you are seeing in this photo here on the far left. That would make, if in fact that was Brigitte Macron, that would make her 8 years older than she is currently presenting herself to the public. They are alleging that Brigitte lived as Jean-Michel Trogneau for 30 years and then she transitioned. Brigitte Macron seemingly doesn't know her own age. Brigitte was giving an interview and she was recalling having lived alone in the United States during the moon landings in 1969. She would have been 16 at that time. So for her to say that she was living alone in the United States, what was she doing at the age of 16 living alone in the United States? You're not allowed to do that. Jean-Michel, on the other hand, Jean-Michel Trogneau, who the journalists are alleging that Brigitte lived as, well, he would have been 24 years old at that time. That would make more sense. Now I'm giving you one example. There are multiple examples where they have found in interviews that it seems that Brigitte just does not know her own age. Okay, well, where's Jean-Michel? Brigitte alleges that that's her older brother. Well, guess what, guys? He's missing. The genealogists basically looked through, your entire life, obviously. You're creating data everywhere when you're getting married and when you're going to get IDs. The genealogists can trace you existing. So what they determined was that for 30 years, her brother, Jean-Michel Trogneau, existed. They found tons of evidence that this individual existed. And then right at the same time that Brigitte Macron suddenly comes into the public sphere, Jean-Michel goes missing. Now you have Brigitte and her brother is missing. And you know what, guys? You would think, why don't you just go on a walk with your brother? If this is the rumor that is driving you crazy, why don't you just walk out with your brother? They even found a series of photos of when Brigitte was a teacher. And she chose to bizarrely cover her neck with a scarf for virtually an entire year. And they're like, this is the exact time that Brigitte got the Adam's apple surgery. Brigitte alleges that she was a teacher and Macron was this 14, 15-year-old student that she was attracted to. What? Yeah, and they just struck up a relationship. She says at the time that she was married with 3 kids and made the decision to divorce and leave her husband for a 14-year-old boy. Does that register to you as a normal situation? And then guess what, guys? You're gonna find this to be insane. But then you would go, okay, well, let's just talk to Brigitte's ex-husband. Yeah, well, when Emmanuel Macron won the election, some journalists around the world were trying to track down the now First Lady's ex-husband, and they couldn't find him. Nope, without a trace. And then one day, Defamation, Brigitte's daughter, just randomly announces, as journalists began going, this is really weird, that he died and they chose to cremate him in a private ceremony. Don't ask any questions. This is not the world that you grew up in. People are tired of this, okay? You're paying attention to what's happening with Epstein, what's going on here. We are revolting against this. We're revolting against the perverts that run the world. And I want to be very clear here. I count you among them. I think you're sick. I think you're disgusting. And I am fully prepared to take on this battle.